In my addiction, I alienated my family, friends.
I experienced going to jail, having a PO, reporting, being in compliance, not being in compliance, to the point where I was sentenced to prison.
When I look at clients, and I'll tell them in a raw way that I haven't met the client yet that I felt that was worse off than me.
If people could just change by us telling them to change, they would have done it already.
It starts with a genuine belief that everyone has value. And the mistakes that they've made in the past, they don't define their future.
I've had clients that I've lost. When I go home at night, and this is real, that I want to lay on my head on my pillow and know that if something happens to any of my clients, I know that I've done everything I could for them.
We have somebody who comes into our building, and generally speaking, they come in pretty rough shape. To some degree, they're broken, and a lot of times they're just looking for somebody who's willing to say, hey, I believe in you, and I know that you're capable of living life a different way.
I'm Nate Gowie-Ran. I'm the director of Josephine County Community Corrections here in Southern Oregon, where we are constantly striving to be the best. It starts with a genuine belief that everyone has value, and the mistakes that they've made in the past, they don't define their future. What defines people is their character. It's their ability to overcome and navigate through challenging times, and that creates hope for their future. It's that philosophy that's blanketed across our sector, with dedicated staff and community partners to help people realize their skills, their gifts, and their abilities. And all of those gifts, skills, and abilities help them be successful. And then, in so doing, we protect the community.
What makes me tick and why do I have so much passion is I was on the other side of the glass of this industry. I was a homeless addict, veteran, and I lived a horrible, horrible life up until I found some resources through the VA system and Road Community College in this agency that gave me an opportunity to fulfill my potentials. And being that I went through all of the things and nuances of addiction and not so much criminality, I understand where our clients are today, and I want to give them that opportunity to go through the process that I went through, which was accountability and support and help. And you have to be willing to receive the help in order to get the help. So that's what drives me. I know it's possible for them to succeed. I am a lead PO. I am responsible for several other POs to support them in their jobs. I'm also a KDAC 2 clinical supervisor. I just received my certification a few weeks ago. And I'm responsible to help and ensure that the jobs and tasks get done. Not telling them to do it, but helping them do it.
I was 42 years old and actively involved in the criminal justice system because I had a PO. I was on probation for a long time before I got felony charges that sent me to prison. So I experienced going to jail, having a PO, reporting, being in compliance, not being in compliance, to the point where I was sentenced to prison, which was a life-saving thing for me. I think for a lot of us, how do you nicely say that going to prison was the best thing that ever happened? Without those legal interventions, I think a lot of people who have long-term recovery wouldn't have gotten here. And I was lucky enough to receive treatment inside of Oregon Department of Corrections.
I think it's really important, especially being a female in this role, is setting very strict boundaries, professional boundaries with individuals you supervise, but also meeting them where they're at. I think that building that relationship right when they come onto supervision helps with trust. And so once you build that foundation, then you can move forward and seeing their successes and working through challenges and barriers that they have. Yeah, so I supervise the downward departure caseload. What that means is it's individuals who, I'd like to put it, are given a second chance. And what we do is we try to keep them from going to prison. So that is my main role as a probation officer.
I want to be real with the clients, and I want them to be real with me. And so in doing that, it crosses the bridge over their pre-contemplative state of mind, and they are able to relate with me. I have a history of, things in my past that helped me to be the man I am. So winding it up, I guess in some of these guys, I'd have to say I see it because I own it, which gives me a good insight on how they think and what they do. I go the extra mile for any client at any time. And sometimes, because I've had clients that I've lost, and so I want to make sure that when I go home at night, and this is real, that I want to lay on my head on my pillow and know that if something happens to any of my clients, I know that I've done everything I could for them.
Our work is challenging. We're asked to supervise the highest risk people within our communities who have demonstrated remarkable capabilities of destruction. Some have dangerously violent tendencies, and others have really complex, deviant patterns of behavior. Others exercise deceptive strategies to victimize our community. Some of them use self-sabotaging techniques that spill over into society and harm our communities, and others are, just straight up difficult to deal with. There are some frustrations throughout our work because of the challenging work we do. Our culture within our workforce is supportive. We have to be. We're also encouraging to one another. We celebrate successes, whether it be individualized or as a team effort. We're constantly encouraging one another. We focus a lot on our training and our developing of our folks, our practitioners, our professionals. We also encourage one another and give consistent reminders of their significant roles within the lives of others, within the lives of our community. And we support one another throughout the entire journey.
I think our staff is second to none. I think we've created a culture that's largely just based on the quality of individuals who work here, and I think in that I enjoy just coming and spending time with them. I think it's fair to call them all a friend, not just a colleague, which is pretty special in today's world. So I think on one side of it is the professional setting with my friends / colleagues, and then on the other side it's the opportunity to help people. And I know that's what a lot of folks say, but it's this idea that we have somebody who comes into our building, and generally speaking, they come in more often than not pretty rough shape. To some degree they're broken, and a lot of times they're just looking for somebody who's willing to say, hey, I believe in you, and I know that you're capable of living life a different way, and they just need somebody to invest that time. They need somebody to believe in them to a certain degree, and I think that's one of the most important things we do here is we provide that belief.
The culture here is nothing but amazing. We are very family oriented, and what I mean by that is if I'm having a rough day or I need someone to talk to, I simply can go to anyone. I feel like we have a lot of good trust built here within our agency, even higher ups. If we need something, we can go into a supervisor's office, knock on the door, everyone is available, and I think that is really important because we face things every single day.
In my addiction, I alienated my family, friends. I wasn't allowed at the family home because of my lifestyle, the criminality that goes along with addiction, and it put a huge strain on all my relationships. I lost custody of my daughter, went through a divorce, basically had alienated everyone in my life. I'm proud of my clean time. That's the main thing. My recovery comes first. I have good relationships with family. I have great relationships with my PO. I'm glad to come in here. I can talk to her about things that are going on in my life, and I get great feedback. And yeah, it feels really good. It feels like I've done some positive work, and that I've made a good impact on the people that have worked with me. I've been arrested by many of these individuals, and I've had my ups and downs, a lot of downs, but over the last year has been very positive experience. You know, the person, I think if they're really trying, if they really want to change their lives, eventually they will. It might take more than once or twice or 3 times for people. I think by giving people the chance to have more than just one chance at recovery, it's worth it. I think it's worth it because not everybody gets it just first time. You know, not everybody. It takes multiple attempts. With addiction is a very, very, they call it cunning, baffling, powerful, and that's what it is.
Our justice-involved individuals have sometimes burnt bridges, and so there's a lack of trust there, right? Well, it's our job to come in and make sure that we're bridging that gap from what they used to be to what they can be within our communities, and help them realize all of those different gains and the potential that they have as a person, not just a justice-involved individual, but as a person.
When they can go from being a train wreck to being self-sufficient in whatever form that is for them, that is a huge success story, and that is really one of the benefits of Drug Court. And for me, I get to see start to finish. I get to see what the end product is. And almost, I would say 10 times out of 10, we have the resources to help this person who is actually drug addicted, and therein lies their criminality. So the main thing that these people need once they're out of jail is housing. You have to start with the basics, the fundamentals. If they don't have housing, how can you expect them to show up to a group 5 days a week from 9:30 to 11? Where are they showering? Where are they sleeping that night? You know, you need your basics. So we have a transitional housing that we work with. We work with the county houses. We have 3 for males. We have 1 for females right now. So once we get them the housing and they're on probation, I assess them as their PO to see what their needs are that I can help them with.
Housing is the #1 most important thing in order to create some kind of stability. Shortly after I got out of prison and was able to do the work that it took, and with the help of a lot of other folks too, to get kind of Welcome Home Oregon off the ground.
When someone with an addiction problem goes to jail, you'll go through some withdrawals, and I always did. I would have my period of withdrawals, and then I would start feeling better. Usually, if you're in the secure treatment, they focus on your exit strategy with your PO, and they help you get housing with the Ferguson House, or whether it be the Oxford House. You know, I think that's one of the most important aspects of the whole thing is what you're going to do when you get out, instead of just, because most of the people, they are homeless. Their families are alienated, what have you, so a lot of people don't have anywhere to go.
It takes some people longer than others. We utilize evidence-based treatment with proper cognitive behavioral therapeutic approaches, and that develops the skills and their abilities and resources that we can use them to make real change in their life as they integrate back into society. Our analytics team within Community Corrections is constantly analyzing data to make informed policy decisions based on the evidence and the behavior. We drill down and parse out risk levels within the community and deploy the most resources to the highest risk people. Statistically speaking, about 30% of our overall population is determined to be high risk. Based on multiple criminogenic domains, we individualize case plans and tailor it specific to the needs of the person that we have on supervision. We offer a strength-based approach, so we figure out what it is that their skill sets are within life, and then help develop and build on those strengths. We also identify their barriers. We help them identify their goals for the future and their willingness to change.
One of the things that I'm really proud about is working for an agency that has leadership that believes in the power of a pretty comprehensive strategic plan saying, hey, here's where our agency is now. This is what the industry is now. This is what it looks like. Where do we want to go, right? 10 years, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, where do we want to go? We've built that into kind of broken it down into multiple facets, but what we really focus on is people, performance, and resources. And we take those kind of, that three-tiered kind of approach, and we identify through a goal-setting process what's going to help get us to where it is that we want to be, and being one of the premier agencies in the state. But really, at the end of the day, positively affecting people's lives, changing people's lives while keeping our community safe.
When I look at clients, and I'll tell them in a raw way that I haven't met the client yet that I felt that was worse off than me. I was homeless for 2 years straight, winter, spring, summer, and fall, and I slept in a bed twice. I stank so bad that drug dealers wouldn't even sell me drugs. So I made a decision. That I was done with this. And so what I share with people, it's a choice. It's not that the drugs are so powerful that it controls your every breathing. To me, that's not true. It's a choice. It's a choice to do the hard work necessary to make the changes that you say you want. And so I challenge clients to be accountable. And I don't listen to what they say. I listen to the language of their behavior and what they do. And 9 times out of 10, once you confront them with that truth, they have no other choice to either do what they say they're going to do or keep talking. And a lot of times they'll make attempts, and they're small baby steps, and that's okay. We work with the Second Chance Employment program with companies give our offenders, knowing where they're coming from, straight out of prison, straight from using meth, they will give them that opportunity to grow. Some will take it, some have been promoted, and some won't last 2 days. And you just have to know when that time is within yourself. And once they fall on their face, that's okay. They pick themselves up and will go at it again.
What we've realized is that we have to invest in them on multiple levels, right? It's really a biopsychosocial type assessment process that leads us to a place of understanding kind of the key principle that we operate on these days, which is called the risk, need, responsivity principle. So we identify what the risk is. We know who they are. We know where or what threats they present potentially, and then drilling down one layer deeper, we identify what the need is. What are the things that we can do to help provide them with services, right? And then the responsivity component. In what way do they best receive these services? And if we do that in a very comprehensive way through a validated risk tool, which is what we use, the LSCMI for males, the Warner for females, identify the need and then help work on the responsivity piece, we know that gives us the best chance of reducing the potential for future recidivism, right? Reduces our overall prison population, keeps them in the community, and engages them in the things that we know give them the best chance of going out and living pro-social lives. So we've seen this kind of paradigm shift, right? It's been pretty fundamental swing in the way that we do business, and understanding that if people could just change by us telling them to change, they would have done it already, right? We have to help them learn how to do that. And when you have certain behavior patterns, when you've learned to operate in the world a certain way, it takes a while to start readapting that, right? To actually change my thought process, to work on my beliefs and my thoughts and how those lead to behavior. That's not an easy process to do. And we've realized that by just taking somebody, throwing them in jail, and then bringing them back out, telling them to follow the rules, taking them to jail and bringing them back out, we're actually disrupting that process of helping them try to relearn. Right? And so it's been this kind of realization in community corrections that we have to engage with them on this human level, that we have to identify these things while all the time keeping in mind that that's a process that takes some time.
The message I would tell the victims for sex abuse is that we work really, really hard at making sure our processes are really tight in accountability. We're trained at a very high level, statewide, agency-wide. We leave no stone unturned. and we really support change in their life. One of the key factors is accountability. They have to understand the crime they committed and the impact it had on those victims, and there's no wiggle room for that. You have to go through that process before you can move forward, and I think that is what accounts for the successful numbers that we're seeing today, is that we work hard at getting them to understand what they did was not only wrong, it was just kind of, it's immoral, and they get that message. But the other part is we offer them alternative to their behavior. We make sure they have a solid foundation to move forward in their life, to live a productive life instead of living the life they were living.
You asked, does this work get frustrating at times? And I would honestly say yes, that it does get frustrating at times. But, the other piece of that is the reminder that we're making a difference. And even though we come across different things that frustrate us or confuse us, we're still holding to the mission, and that is changing lives with what works. We do it as a team. Nobody has a magic wand that they can just, use and say that somebody's better. We make sure that anything that we do is evidence-based, that it is effective, that we're not just operating with a gut feeling, but it's backed by many, many years of research. And that's cognitive behavioral therapy, it's accountability, it's motivational interviewing, it's getting people to recognize all of the different incongruencies within their life of what they say they value versus what they're doing in terms of their behavior. And so if we can raise that cognitive dissonance within themselves, within their own minds, oh boy, that's the nugget that we're looking for change.
I'm extremely thankful and grateful that I have this job because it speaks to my passion, and that is in helping people that just can't see what they need right now, that are so engulfed in their addiction that they're just running that same OODA loop over and over and over again. I need my fix, I gotta commit crime to get my fix. Now I'm in the justice system. I need my fix, I need to commit crime to get my fix. Now I'm still involved in the justice system, and they're in that revolving door. And more females are doing that because of their second and third generation addicts. Because there are more females involved in the justice system, I think the fact that we have more female POs helps a lot because of the differences in the genders. The female POs are more, I think, open and oriented towards those female participants, and the female participants are more trusting and at ease sometimes with the female PO. So I think the fact that there are so many of us now is very beneficial for the females that are involved in the criminal justice system.
Is this belief that people can change. You have to have a belief to do this work. You have to, at your core, believe that people are possible of doing life differently than they've done it before. If you don't have that, this is a very empty process for you, right? Because you take so much on. Our practitioners, they wear so much vicarious trauma through the work that they do, the stories that they listen to, the conversations that they have with people, watching people break down, seeing the things that they see when they go into folks' houses. And I think what separates folks from being in that category and recognizing that this isn't for me, and the people who make this their life's work, are the people at the very, very core who believe that they have this ability and that they have this desire to really speak into, help, and to meet people where they're at, but to speak into people's lives in a way and to help them develop the skills that they need, yet holding them accountable at the same time, with this belief that at the end, this product that they're going to get is somebody who is better than when they started.
I'd be standing out there. One time I was standing out with Jay Snodgrass over here, and somebody drove by. I don't even know who it was. They just yelled out, "Thank you, Rock." And I said, yeah, I don't know what for what, but I know they appreciated it. That's where I get my paycheck. I mean, I appreciate the one I get here too, but That's a divine one that just is so powerful to me. It makes my heart filled with joy.
One of the foundations that we have here as we deploy evidence-based practices, it's all rooted within our strategic plan that we developed years ago. We revisit the plan annually to make sure that it's relevant to the community and our priorities within the community. We also want to make sure that it's effective and that we are up to date with the current trends, the most analyzed statistics that we have, and then make sure that we're pursuing what works. We prioritize people, we prioritize performance, and we prioritize resources. And those are the three themes within the strategic plan that we develop specific goals around to attain the highest levels of effectiveness within our local jurisdictions. We're also audited by the Department of Corrections through a biennial community corrections report, which is a review to compare a comprehensive written plan to what actually transpires within the agency. And we've had significant congruence with what we say we're doing with what we're actually doing. And that is a positive, I think, for our industry and just being transparent to the taxpayers. We are accountable to one another. We perform routine in-house monthly audits for ourselves. We are also audited by independent entities. So we are held accountable throughout our industry on just making sure that we're using our resources the best we possibly can to make the most positive, impactful change within the community.